Hi, welcome to Going Insane with Tracy Germain. And I know I picked the right name because I just recorded a whole video without starting the backup, so I didn't, it's not there. At any rate, we'll start over. I wanted to talk about I'll read it again. Polish your mirror. Polish your mirror for perfect clarity. There. Polish your mirror for perfect clarity. Everything you see around you is a perfect reflection of where you are on your path. Yes, everything. Our material universe is designed to be a symbolic likeness of what is created on a spiritual plane. Relationships are a way to see into this mirror. Think of the relationships you cherish and the characteristics you adore in certain people, such as your heroes and mentors. The good news is that these same aspects are in you as your golden shadow, right? The reverse is also true. The most difficult aspects of certain people are the aspects of yourself that you haven't embraced or seen fully. This card calls for you to become more honest for your actions and words, to always reflect your true self. By doing so, you become more of a clear mirror, and your relationships will reflect even more peace, joy, and contentment. Remember as well that relationships are not just with other people, they are with food, money, alcohol, work, etc. So it says the cosmic catalyst. In what ways am I pleased with what my mirror is reflecting in my life? And in what ways am I seeing turmoil, frustration, and chaos? Cosmic checkbook. Make 2 lists. One of the characteristics of people who you love, admire, and appreciate. And one of the characteristics of people who drive you crazy. Embrace and appreciate both lists, recognizing how all of these aspects are also in you. Okay, and that's from Cosmic Journey Oracle. So this is really good advice. It has to do with my first video, which was my last video. Well, second. Anyway, it's environment and it's like environment and environment. What's going on in here and how the environment affects that, like clutter, undone chores, tasks that we let build up because we don't want to deal with them. And I talked about that in the last video. So this is a really important next thing to understand, that once we clean up our environment some, so that we don't have that all the time, we start realizing that in our active environments, like dealing with people at work, dealing with work, triggers, okay, in those situations, day to day, the people, the things, the aspects of our lives that trigger us into behavior pattern or programmed response. So let's get into triggers. Anything that triggers us, me, you, is something that's going on inside of us. It's never the person that triggers us. It's not them. Because we're responsible for ourselves. Each soul is responsible for their actions and are accountable for their actions. It doesn't matter. And in the end, in the end of this existence, it's not going to matter that they triggered you, that it's their fault that you felt this way. It's going to be on you that you didn't figure out why you allowed it to trigger you. So, the inner goings on within each of us have to be addressed. So anything that triggers you is about healing you, so you know where the injury is. Oh, that hurt me. Oh, well, there's the first aid. Get the first aid kit. Let's work on that. It hurt you there. Okay. Well, let's do the first aid. Let's clean it up. Figure out how it got there. As a nurse, you first you dress the wound. Okay, you do the first aid. You clean it. You deep read it. Start figuring out, how deep it is. You have to know what caused it. So you have to get into the story. You don't always do that first. Usually we like to take history first, but if it's a deep wound, you don't. You get as much information as you can to find out what caused it. What kind of conditions were going on at the time, etc., etc. Was it rusty? Was it a clean? And so you start gathering the information, but you have to go deep. You have to go into yourself and find out why. If you're, most of the time, it's your ego. A friend of mine said, "Let go my ego." I'm like, okay, you can have your ego. I don't care about your ego. I know. You do your own ego. I'm doing my ego. And we all have to deal with our egos. Our egos are very important. And just trying to look past that ego, which I'd like to, compare to the gatekeeper. In multiple personalities, there's always a gatekeeper. That keeps everybody rounded up. All the extra personalities to keep the main character, safe, protected, and secure. And whatever personality is best for that moment is called upon. The ego's not that different. It learned by experience what injured us and how bad it hurt. So our ego tries to protect us from that by reacting first, by gearing up and reacting the loudest, most obnoxious, most aggressive, or the most shrewd. Whatever, doesn't matter. However it comes out in any given situation, there's no pattern. Excuse me, but we can recognize the patterns of our own egos ourselves, and this is what we need to do. When we respect our ego, hey ego, literally I wrote this out. Hey ego, I respect why you're there, why you're trying to, why you always show up for this type of a situation. I respect it. And I feel the pain. Our egos are a little bit overzealous these days because we've been taught how not to deal with the pain. We don't want to deal with the pain. We'd rather take chemicals and become big walking voids of soulless zombies with no emotions. Well, no, not me, but some people do that. And that's fine. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if we want to get into a healthier spot, we have to deal with the ego. So how I dealt with my ego, which is a pretty big ego. I had a lot of pain, a lot of abandonment issues. I had abandonment issues. Big one in my life. That's okay. Allowed myself to go through my abandonment issues, my abandonment catalysts, the people, the situations. And I acknowledged the pain and I embraced it. And then I released it. And I asked the higher realms to help me to transmute that. Transmuting is very important because if you don't transmute the pain, it leaves a void. Transmuting means you take that energy, the pain, all the way back to its original source, which is always love. Because the source of our creation was love, is love, will always be love for eternity, for, there's no end to this love. We'll get into that in the next video. Embracing our egos, respecting the ego, will allow it to start working in tandem with us instead of against us. Because now it's like, but I'm here for a reason. You're trying to shut me down. You're just going to willpower me away. Fuck you. They're not really that interested in dying. What if you can say, no, I respect you, man. I respect you. Like, they really need, it's like a whole other, it's like an alter ego. It's like, it is. The ego is an alter ego from the id and the, you get all that. So, but you have to transmute the pain and don't leave voids to be filled with the next trigger to then just make that one bigger. So transmutation, transmute, TRANSMUTE, transmute. There's a lot of ways there's a lot of good information to find on that. Okay, so the next thing you have to remember is that the trigger is never about the other person. Ever, 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 ever. It's a reflection of what's wrong with us. So if we're triggered, that means we have something to heal. We have something to do. We have work. Our inner work, our wounds to work on. And work on. And work. Because by, spewing pain onto other people because we won't do our own inner work just makes the global situation harder to contain, maintain, exist in. So if you're triggered, it's about you. It's not about the other person. It's time to grow up and understand that as a soul. Our whole country is based on it. Freedom of speech, free will. It's in our DNA. We have inalienable rights by God, whether the country gives it to us or not. I mean, you don't have to believe in God to understand that you have rights that no man has a right to take away from you. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to believe in Jesus or God, Holy Spirit, Yahweh, Yeshua, Shekinah, Buddha, Muhammad. You don't have to believe in any of those to understand you have a right to exist on this planet with, to feed yourself and to clothe yourself and to shelter yourself without being molested by a government. So back to the original. Let's back that truck up. If something triggers you, remember it's a reflection of something within you. And if we quit pointing fingers at other people, between that and we start putting the mirror up to our own faces, we will be making huge steps in global citizenry mastery. Wouldn't it be fun? This ascension requires that we do that. I think the next video I'll come back with specific exercises because this one's getting kind of long. How to deal with triggers, how to heal from triggers, how to acknowledge, identify the triggers, and how to start getting the weeds out of your garden. Your garden's so beautiful, it just wants to grow and bloom and be in peace and colorful and not choked up with toxic weeds and stickers and thorns and no pretty flowers because everything's taken over by which just comes down to lack of maintenance, lack of give a care about what's going on in the garden. I mean, you can't have a garden unless you're tending to it. So let's work on becoming our best garden as global citizens. That'd be great. See you guys next time.